Well, good morning and welcome to CityLine. It is great to be in your home. This is a very special day here on CityLine. We are celebrating, as you saw from the wide shot. Today is Thursday, July 6th, but it is officially, it has been, and it is today, the month of Pride here for the city of Tacoma. And we have a great hour of all things that talk about LGBTQIA2SS in store for you. Later on, we'll be talking with the brand new HR manager, Nancy Shattuck of the Office of Equity and Human Rights. And then Matthew Wilson, who is the executive director of the Oasis Center for Youth, will be on the comfy couch to talk about what his days are like, to talk about who his customers are and how we can help him. Also, Quincy Tyson, who is the executive director of the Rainbow Center. He's brand new. He hasn't been on the comfy couch. He will be here to talk with us. And right now, I want to show you a clip of something that happened last week before I have the pleasure and privilege of introducing the amazing individual on the couch. So roll that beautiful footage. So here it is. This is our Tacoma Dome, and this is the Pride flag being raised beneath the American flag. We have a lot of, oh, there it is. We have a lot of flag raising this month to celebrate. And I couldn't be happier as I drive onto exit 133 to look to my right and to see my favorite flag. There it is. So joining me right now is somebody who, gosh, I love this man. I pinch myself knowing that we have him on our team and here in Tacoma. Please join me in welcoming the fabulous executive director of Pierce County AIDS Foundation, the one, the only Ace Robinson. Hello,
hey.
My love.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Get over here.
Good. So good to see you.
Okay, before we get into all that you and I are known for stirring up,
all this stuff.
Can we talk about these socks? Okay, put your foot up.
Hold on, let me.
Oh, yeah. There we go. And it says love on the side.
Yes.
Oh, my God. You are truly an executive director who wears socks like that. And then let's look at the shirt.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
There we go. This is an important message.
Very important message,
yes.
Especially in today's day and age.
And tell us about the pin on your lapel. This has a great history to it.
So these pins are called Kiss Me Nots, and what they are for individuals living with HIV, primarily in sub-Saharan Africa. So you'll see women on the side of the road making these things called Kiss Me Nots. And what you do, you purchase one and you're supporting someone who not only is impacted by HIV, but often is living with HIV, who has limited resources, limited access
yes.
to be able to live a comfortable, healthy life. Because just like we have in the United States, there are certain individuals who don't have as many opportunities,
right.
And we want to make sure that we're supporting them, especially individuals who are impacted by HIV.
Exactly. Okay, so that leads me to want to ask you one of two questions, and I'm going to go with question 2.
Okay.
Because you so beautifully told that story. Now that you're in story mode, tell us about your history, your career within the HIV community, and why are you so darn good at what you do?
So people who are, I think, my age, like I'm more of a one-off. People who are younger, there's a lot of people who have my background. But I started my career in the area. I was in Seattle at Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, and I was doing HIV vaccine design. So I was the guy with like the face mask, the goggles, the hairnet, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm gonna come up with a vaccine for HIV. That's what I'm gonna do. And with that project, I was working in West Africa. With that project, we were also supporting our cohort of people. We were primarily people in the trade sex industry, primarily female identified women. So we were doing that work. It was just like, so we're supporting them they're supporting us with vaccine right. Development, and we're supporting them with making sure they have access to care. Sex work is decriminalized in Senegal, kind of like Las Vegas and,
yes.
and Jersey City. But it was the same thing. So, well, at some point in the history of the United States, there was this guy who actually lost the presidential election. But the Supreme Court didn't want them to count the votes, and it was this whole thing, and blah, blah, blah. Make a long story short, I'm not going to name names. You can figure it out.
Yeah,
this
we
is
can figure it out.
20-something years ago.
Ripped from the headlines.
Right. And then that person decided to tie HIV funding to abstinence education. So this is the part that's like horrible. So it's one thing. So I told you the population I work with. Abstinence education is not part of what you do with trade sex people in the trade sex industry. And so fine, we lose your job, whatever. You come back to the U.S. I was going to be fine. I was going to be housed. I was going to have food. I was
And
going
look
to have
what you're
access to
listing
healthcare.
off.
Right.
That means fine.
That to me, that's like I'm going to be fine.
Yes.
And those women that I supported who lost their access to treatment, who lost their access to a lot of care that we were providing, I would assume that to a T, all of them died within 2 years. And if that didn't happen, they would all probably be alive today. Not some, they would probably all be alive today.
So you have what we call, we being the lesbian population, because I am lesbian, I'm married to Laura. So you have life experience where you have worked with people, touched them, been a part of their life, asked them, how is the medicine going? How are you doing? How did you feel this morning after your fourth dose of this? Those people are no longer with us because of what happened in our political system.
Yeah. And the reality is, like, we have this shirt and we see what's happening in the U.S. today, where there's attacks on the queer community. But for the first time in the history of the United States, there's also attacks on the HIV response.
Yes.
Like in places like Tennessee, which made the national news, actually made the global news, Georgia, Florida, where they're saying, no, we don't want money to support people living with HIV, because you know what that money actually goes to? It goes to queer kids. So let's find a way to end this financial support, because we don't want these organizations open that are supporting transgender kids, black gay people who are living on the street, the deplorables from the other side.
Wow. So as we step over those bodies that are hurting and are on their way to dying, we are looking at people who want the end result and ignoring what's right in front of them.
Right.
Right. They want to reach over them and say, no, we're going to work on this legislation so no child ever has anything.
Right.
And if you die in the process, it's okay.
And when with what we do for a living, you're always looking for silver linings.
Yes, always.
Right. And so my silver lining to the last presidential administration was this thing called the Ending the HIV Epidemic Initiative, which what it was doing is that they were looking at which parts of the U.S. Represent the majority of the HIV epidemic.
Right.
And one of those areas in the U.S., the only one in the Pacific Northwest actually originally was King County, where Seattle is, right? And then there's something that came, I think we might have spoke about this before, but then they redid the data.
Yes.
So if they were to redo the data today, the place that would be the epicenter of the HIV response in the Pacific Northwest would no longer be Seattle, King County. Now it's Tacoma, Pierce County.
Wow.
And I mean, that goes back to that piece where I said housing, so on and so forth. If you are from a community that is highly impacted by HIV, you are also from a community that is highly impacted by lack of housing, lack of food security, so on and so forth. And so why have the numbers increased in Tacoma? It's not because we have so many new diagnoses.
Right.
We have people living with HIV who can no longer afford to live here, so we're going to go there. And so how are we going to support those people? Because, I think we talk about this all the time.
We do.
But like my organization, PCAF, why did we increase the number of people we serve by 20% during the epidemic, during the COVID-19 pandemic, was because so many people moved to our region. Yes. And we have to find a way to serve those people. And that's, I think, what's exciting about having these types of conversations, is being in a community that says, we don't care what your background is.
Right.
We're here to support you,
That's right.
and we're here to help you, and we're going to make this happen.
So I have 2 questions, and I have 2 minutes left, and gosh darn it, I knew this was going to happen. So let's talk about what you need from our elected officials, because we started out talking about the political machinations of funding. What do you need right here in Pierce County?
Be specific. We need to make sure that we are getting the resources to make sure people are housed, especially people living with HIV and from the communities that are impacted by HIV. We need an expansion in brain health services. I'm really excited about there is something around a behavioral health tax for that level of investment. That's going to be huge for what we do. Because, and one thing that we don't talk about in HIV is the number one predictor to HIV acquisition and HIV morbidity, somebody dying, is their brain health, like what's happening with their world. The second, number two, is housing. So making sure those two pieces are handled. And then it's making sure that we create systems of care so that we can get people the access to prevention and treatment. I had a conversation with the folks from the Black Collective this past weekend, and there were some individuals who didn't know about pre-exposure prophylaxis. And for everyone who might not know on TV, it's like we have some treatment for people who are not living with HIV, that if you're exposed to it through pleasure, often through sex, drugs, whatever makes you happy, that you won't acquire HIV. But the whole thing is you have to know about it, you have to access it, and you need to be able to stay on it. And those are those pieces that we're trying to minimize, so that like at PCAF, what are we doing now? We make sure that, if you want access to PrEP, you can get it today. We're not going to make you jump through a bunch of hoops and hope that you come back and da-da-da. Let's say, you want it, you come to me right now. Let's make sure you have it in your hand within 2 hours. 2 hours is, maybe we can get down to 30 minutes, but right now we're at 2 hours.
I love that. Yeah. Boy, if that's not meeting people where they are, given what we have right now. Yeah. And that's something that we as a community have learned through 1980s, when the heat was on, all of those things, all of the times that we went through that determine how we behave today to keep this movement forward. You are going to be at Pride. I'm sure PCAF will have a booth there. I have to come see you and kiss your baby's toes like Joe Biden did. And I just want to say thank you for all the work that you and your amazing team do in this community to keep us healthy. So
thank you.
Thank you so much, and I'll see you next quarter back on the comfy couch.
Definitely. Thank you.
When we come back after little musical chairs, we'll have Quincy from the Rainbow Center will be here. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back.